all together. Thank you. Laurel.
You're welcome.
And I've been going through the pages you gave us in the hard book.
You might want to tuck that somewhere for John.
Okay, it's 9:30, so I'll call the meeting to order. We'll forego the Pledge of Allegiance, and Laurel will just show who's here.
Mr. Behrens,
Present, yeah.
Mr. Christensen,
Present.
Mr. Pulpa,
Present.
and Mr. Walter absent prior notice. No guests.
Public comment, I expect none, see none. See, we've got an agenda here. My intent, most of this is just quick updating you. But my intent is to get us through this pretty quickly.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of minutes, I looked through them. This is from our January meeting. I would move to approve them.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
John, have you talked to Don since our phone call?
Who?
Don Clark? Have you talked to him since?
You were here when we did it.
Yeah, but since then?
No.
Okay,
He was gonna,
Well-
someone was gonna get a hold of Scott.
I did. I got hold of Scott right away.
I'm out of it.
Oh, well, okay. I like the way you,
No, I'm just saying, I think he was gonna get with Scott and they were gonna take care of it, right?
right. Yeah, you're out of it as far as that goes.
Maybe
No,
no more contact.
and I haven't, it just occurs to me, I haven't talked to Scott since I talked, left him a detailed message and reiterated Don's phone call, or phone number. But I thought you were very strong in saying to Don,
Oh, I was.
we need this done.
Yeah.
And,
I was right here. I said, Don, this guy get done. It's
yeah,
flooding. And he said, yeah, I'll get down there.
yeah, yeah. Well,
I guess we need Scott.
Well, I saw Scott beating feet, I think it was yesterday, down the drive quicker than he normally goes. So I was kind of thinking in my mind, maybe he's beating feet for Veronica
I don't know.
to assist with this beaver thing. The strategy's probably to tear down part of the
tear down the,
dam and then put the traps where they're gonna redo it.
So I guess there's nothing to update until we talk to Scott.
Did someone
Right.
want to follow up with Scott?
yeah. 2% allocation. We didn't get it again with our most recent application. There is a question, do we want to keep the same proposal and go with another effort in the spring?
I think so. Sometimes people get tired of people after a while.
I'm wondering if you mixed up the presentation a little bit, include maybe some photos of other districts that show the goats munching on the weeds. And then maybe one more thing would be to allocate $300, maybe $500 towards the cause. And that way the tribe sees that you are putting money into it from the county perspective. Those are just two thoughts to try and,
Bump the tribe.
make it a little more attractive.
I contacted Bill Watson. I admit I didn't do it until yesterday, but I also expressed to him that we would be coming up with our recommendation as to whether we ask him to move ahead with another spring application. You know, it depends on his relationships with the goat. They're not his goats. This is something he has a relationship with another nonprofit coming out of Detroit for the goats. I don't know if that's going to continue this year or not. But I told him that even if he doesn't have goats, I think, and this is where I want some feedback from you, I think we should immediately ask him for an application that includes 2 weeks of his crew for autumn olive especially, autumn olive mitigation,
So either the goats
or that. I move that we recommend to the full Parks and Rec Commission that we utilize Bill Watson's services to make a yet third application for invasives mitigation at Veronica Valley Park.
I support. And then the modifications that Laurel suggested you can relay to Bill. He's pretty in tune with what the tribe needs to see and what they're doing. But if you maybe suggest to him those modifications or see what his feeling was, we can, you could have that in your hip pocket for the next Parks and Rec meeting, commission meeting, and we could tweak it at that meeting, because we'll be making a recommendation.
Well, that's
The
why
county
I
board.
wanted to get this recommendation so we can get the PNR recommendation done March 1st.
Right.
And then we can be moving along to get all of that process done early.
Yeah, get the ball rolling, yeah.
I guess I would like to hear again, what did you say about this $500?
Well, my thought is if they have pictures of what the goats are doing, get pictures of those to incorporate as an attachment to the application, and also offer to pony in $300 to $500 from this board towards that, and then they will see that. I don't know if it will make a difference, but it certainly wouldn't hurt to try.
Pictures are nice. When you say they, you mean that company have pictures of what the goats do?
Right,
Okay.
either, yeah, because.
Well, and I'll take care of this because that's a contact to Bill Watson
Yeah,
Yeah.
in terms of, give me some pictures.
I like that idea, so.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of $500 or any dollar amount, to show that we're putting some skin in the game.
The 500 would go so that he could send pictures to us?
No,
No.
the 500 would go as part of the match.
right. It's part of it.
He'll list out then in an application that he's got match of in-kind cash from who, da-da-da, and in that cash listing, it would be from Leelanau County Parks and Rec, $500.
Do you want to modify your motion to include a $500 match?
I was going to make it as a second motion. Do we recommend $500? This is, well, let's vote on this motion that we've got right now.
Okay.
Any other discussion? The motion again is that we recommend we move ahead with either the goats or Bill Watson's cruise. One way or another, let's again apply for 2% monies. That's our recommendation to the full commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Now, $500. Tell me, we have a bigger budget this year, total, Parks and Rec?
An extra 10 grand just on capital outlay, and we've got 30,000 in repair and maintenance. So I would imagine it's pretty easy to see the 500. I would imagine, yeah, at this point in time, we're early in the cycle and we're spend 500 here, and that means in October, there'll be 500 less that we need to spend at that point in the year. But
I don't think it can be any more than 500.
Correct,
I think that's,
I think it's a good number. And then
Okay.
all of the committees kind of have their sights on what capital outlays they were shooting for, so each committee will be moving the ball forward on their capital outlay projects.
So I'll make a motion that we recommend to the full Parks and Rec Commission that Parks and Rec contribute $500 out of their budget, out of our budget, to
For a
the
man.
for the match involved in the 2% grant application.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Seven Lake Services. I haven't had a response yet from Paul Barber, the owner, but he's heard what our wants are. And it seems to me that we're going to be, after talking with Lake Leelanau Lake Association, the letter they wrote to us, our response to them, et cetera, I really think we're going to be looking at needing some spray, some chemical application again this year.
It sounded like Kama was talking with the lady.
No, she's on that committee. I talked with Sue Downs, the chairman of that committee.
Oh, okay, and the lady that's running the show as far as doing the stuff is the younger person that Kama mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Now, did the younger person and Kama go look at the ponds last year?
I have no idea where my impression from Lonnie is that this is all just getting started and neither Sue Downs or some of their other organization have seen the ponds yet.
Oh, okay.
Or photos, but not the actual ponds. Ron Reinick is their top techie, Brian Price's right-hand man in terms of technical stuff. So what I want, and I communicated this in my long voicemail yesterday to Paul Barber, what I would feel comfortable with is an extra walk around, an extra travel up here, and that'll be, I'm sure, build some extra expense from their Savin Lake Services techie, so that Mark Reinick, Lake Leelanau Lake Association, and I think it'd be Mike again from Savin Lake Services, and myself, and we can set that up so all of us could be there if we want to. We have to post it as not a meeting, it's an informational gathering, blah, blah, blah. We have to go through that whole step. But we can all be there, whatever. I want to incur the expense of one extra travel from Hale by their techie to be here, and that'll be early season. Now, I haven't got confirmation, but what do you think of that idea? I want the right Lake Leelanau tech specialist and our hired tech specialist to be doing the walk around all together. So I don't want to be the middleman on something I heard from here and I got to tell him, because they can talk apples and apples in terms of the weeds they're looking at. The problem with that is the water's got to get warm enough to generate growth so they can see them. And if that doesn't happen until later in the spring, I know I'll start jamming their schedule, Savin Lake Services. But what do you think about that idea that, because they'll bill us for, in effect, 2 trips up here. It was $500 we did pay last year. We didn't use them except they came as per contract, and I was there, and we did spent 40 minutes and went around. They gave me information, and we determined we didn't need to spray, so I was in the mood to save money at that point. But I want if we're going to work with Lake Leelanau, then I want our contractor there for the first walk.
I think it's a good idea.
Now,
I think it's a good idea.
It is, yeah, to do them at the same time.
yeah, because then they can in June, at least a week before Kids Fish Day, they'll have to, it'll be in June, but at least that week before, they'll have to do the application. And I want Lake Leelanau to be satisfied with how they apply it, because I saw how it's applied, what's involved.
So you're
This is-
probably in a position to be able to pull the trigger just by your own observation of weed growth, I would imagine.
In terms of the timing of
Yeah.
bringing these two different parties together? Yeah, that's something I gotta watch this spring real closely.
If next week's forecast is any indication, I think we're gonna get
I'll be happy
warmer
if,
sooner.
I'll be happy if we get warmer, real warm, have a real warm early spring. I'll probably be gone again a full week in third week of April roughly. But that's something I'll be keeping an eye on. So that's all gone out to Paul, and I'll keep communicating with him on that. One thing we have to move on, and I think this is just maintenance billing, but we do need to get them some funds. And that's why I know he'll get back to me, because I said, I remember, we got to get you money before March, because he's got to make the application for permits. And at least in the past, and he wants to make sure the permit is ready at the time that the growth is ready, and we want to spray. Whatever.
Is there a dollar amount that?
200 is what it has been in the past.
I think it's in here.
So I move that, we recommend to the Parks and Rec Commission to, pay Savin Lake $200 now so they can move forward on getting permits.
I guess I'll second that.
We need to tweak it.
No, I mean, we can vote on that, yeah. And any more discussion?
I thought he's sending us a letter here of what it's gonna cost to treat it.
2350, I think is
Right.
what it
So-
is.
We have that, and we should be voting to that. Last year we voted on it, we just didn't use it.
Correct.
So why don't we make the motion to approve this?
Yeah, that's,
And if you approve this, does it include a trip or two?
well, 3. That's what I want him to agree to.
That's three treatments.
No, 3 trips, 2.
So
Because,
does this include him driving up and looking at things?
no, well, they drive up and look at things and then they spray that same trip. It's not, I'm gonna ask him, I did, and my message for a 3rd trip. I hope I get it for nothing, but it might cost us something.
Well, you said you'd like to have him and a lake association person sometime in May walk around and look at things. He doesn't have to spray that day, does he?
No, but then he'll come back to spray.
Then he'll come back.
That's trip 2, and then the contract calls for a 3rd spray, and they'll drive up here and do that trip. So that's 3 trips. Last year they were here twice, and they didn't do a separate walk around.
So what are we voting on? Just
Well,
to drive
yeah.
up here and look
Well,
at
Fir-
things?
first of all-
Modify my,
Well, withdraw what you had and then modify it.
I can modify that. So what number do I need to look at here?
I would say we should approve it for this whole thing per letter dated.
Well, no, there's phosphorus mitigation.
And if he needs it,
$4,600.
and if we needs it, it's in there. We don't have to
We
have
never
it.
talked about doing phosphorus mitigation, have we? And then there's a pre-emergent they do in the fall. We haven't
Well,
done
those are
that.
additional services. See, a lot of what we would be interested in what's called their standard pond maintenance program cost, 2325. The first,
That first number.
that first number. These are just their list of choices.
Oh, okay.
Now, I would suggest that we make it more like a recommendation for 2,500. that we spend no more than 2,500 in a contract with Savin Lake Services, so that we have the money for, if
For
he
him to
says-
drive up and look.
Yeah,
Well-
if he says, well, for me to make that trip on your schedule, that's gonna cost you a little.
Couldn't they just bill us at that point?
Yeah, yeah. That's
That
why
way
I
we-
said
that
right
way
now,
we-
why don't we just lump
That-
this up a little bit?
Well,
So
I
we-
don't know, that way we can go with a number that's printed in front of us instead of guessing at what they might charge.
I'm fine with that.
Why don't we just go with that number?
Okay,
Standard pond maintenance program cost.
so give me a
I'm gonna
motion.
modify my motion. then.
Per letter dated January 20th, 2023.
On the previous page, it says January 20th, 2023.
The cover page.
Laurel will get that.
Just a second. So you're recommending approval of the 2023 pond maintenance contract?
Yes. Yes.
There you go.
Pond management contract.
Right, so modifying my motion to reference.
Well, you withdrew it, so you
I
don't have
can
to worry
withdraw
about.
it, Okay,
Yeah.
I move that we
Second
recommend,
it.
I move that we recommend to the Parks and Rec Commission, accepting, the bid from Savin Lake Services,
Would be a quote.
the quote from, Savin Lake Services for standard pond maintenance not to exceed $2,325.
Per letter dated?
Per letter dated January 20, 2023.
And that's the 3 treatments?
It's a, yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yes,
It's
So-
the 3.
Motion by Christensen to recommend to the Parks and Recreation Commission to approve the 2023 pond management contract quote from Savin Lake Services for standard pond maintenance in an amount up to $23.25.
Good.
Per letter dated.
Well, it's not really as necessary. It states 2023 pond management
Yeah.
contract.
Yeah, that covers it.
And you support it, John?
Yeah.
3 ayes. Yeah, and really, as I look at that again, I think the last contract was only 2 sprays, not 3. I'll get him up here for this group walk around for nothing. Laurel, I do have a question. Isn't this all, I mean, I know this has to go through the recommendations up the stair step, but it's maintenance, it comes out of maintenance budget, doesn't it?
I'd have to defer to Jerry on that.
Okay,
I don't really do the billing, so I don't know what account code was used.
because then I'm wondering about this couple $100, whatever it's gonna be for the permits in March, would be part of maintenance, and we can just
Should
get
be able to
billed.
Sign and submit. We should be able to sign and submit that one when it comes.
You know, Scott could do that. I mean,
Probably Jerry.
He can or I can or
Yeah,
Jerry.
Jerry or
Okay.
Scott or Steve.
Okay.
We should vote.
Well, you can have a concurrence on that one because you're just saying that
Recommending.
he'll sign or approve the permitting.
I was talking about the 7 motion.
So well, Dave said it was all ayes.
I said it was all ayes.
Oh, good.
John had
I
already,
missed it.
oh, John had seconded it, and Laurel had asked if he was voting yes, and I said yes, and I said 3 ayes.
Aye.
So, okay,
just
I gotta be clear on who's doing what in terms of this $200 approval.
So,
I'd say let them bill us.
Yes. What he means by let him bill it, call him if he wants to come up there, and when the Lake Association meets and stuff, you don't have to write this down, but when you pick a date, then he submits an invoice.
Yeah,
And then we just
well,
pay that through Jerry or whatever, and our administrator signs it, and a function number goes to it.
and that'll happen with this permit
We don't
fee.
need to vote on
No,
something
we,
like
don't-
this.
no, we don't. I was just trying to clear up on that.
But
Isn't
when you
some
get
of,
to 2,300 and stuff, you got other
Yep.
things you gotta do,
yeah,
so.
you gotta climb the
Little bills that
stairs.
come in and out for a couple $100.
Especially, and this is what I had asked Laurel, isn't this considered maintenance? Well, we'll find that out. But he'll simply send us an invoice for the permitting.
Well, to come
Yeah.
up and look at.
Now, it was the last full commission meeting, or the one before that, Laurel pointed out how close we're coming now, a year and 2 years out, I guess, for some of these 5-year plan, master planning requirements. And either Charlie or Laurel said that the first step is for Parks and Rec to get what we have on the county CIP plan and the priorities and action plan of the 5-year recreation plan need to match. And so I want us to look at that. Laurel's provided some of those, the critical documents. Let me see.
So does everybody have their binder?
Affirmative.
And you've inserted today's stuff in your binder?
I will do that as soon as I
Okay.
can do the,
So you have that, and then at the very front of your binder, you should still have a copy of the 5-year parks plan.
correct.
Okay, good.
And all I intend to do today is make this 15 minutes of getting our heads started. I got some paper clip here on the original binder. I think this is coming from our 5-year plan. I gotta find the title page. Shoot, I didn't. Well, in any case, this is what I want to say. It seems to me, if our goal with the park as a whole is letting nature come back and reclaim this old golf course, we're going to manage it. But that's the broad strategy, not develop it in a whole big way. We've got to recognize that every single year there's going to be invasive species management requirements, and they're going to cost money. So through our own park plan and the 5-year recreation plan, I think our number one priority, and I see on goals and objectives, I'm looking at page 67 it's part of our original full binder package. But mitigating invasive species is letter I. So there's whatever, 8 in front of it. Well, I think we should have invasive species mitigation. We can almost look ahead, certainly in the course of the 3 of us being on this committee, that invasive species mitigation is going to be priority number 1. Because it's going to cost money every year. And it has to be done. You don't do it once. Having said that, this just occurred to me driving up here. I'm going to investigate. I know some of what how the local invasive species network organization, which is located in the conservation district building down on the Boardman. I know somehow about how that's funded, but I know that compared to some counties and some other, I didn't meet any Parks and Rec people, but there are some that have a much closer partnership relationship. And I need to come to understand how they're organized, because it may be something that we need to look at in becoming a more substantive partner there. They've used our property for several demonstration projects. So that's just a thought. We need to reorganize some of our goals and priorities where they're required on a couple of these different forms, because we've achieved them. I mean, the fishing walkway. So I'm looking at a goals and objectives page, Veronica Valley, goal number 1, proposed action. Item B, design, fund, and implement a walking pathway circuit. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Provide the universal access to the pond, da, 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 da. We've done the signage sort of thing. They're just, as I've seen it right now, there are things we need to clean up, more than anything else.
So I see a couple spots where we are, as Veronica Valley, in the SIP.
Missed your last word there.
CIP.
Oh, well, that's one thing. Laurel, it seemed to me we're in the CIP only one entry and everything.
2 actually.
2 entries.
I started looking, and you are listed as on
And the
page 46
Yeah, that's
of
right.
of today's packet. You've got improvements, control of invasive species, and then on page 48 at the top, parking lot porta potty upgrade.
Yeah.
I was just starting to look through this.
But isn't the first one, that's the dollar figure of 200,000? I mean, we've lumped a lot there together.
There's 80,000 for parking lot upgrade. And then 200,000 for invasive species, fishing platform, new trails, bird viewing platform, restroom, pavilion.
You might want to break that out into separate items, and that makes it a little more achievable. And if you delineate them, it might help with the board's approval process, because right now you've got a lump sum of 200,000. And invasive species is indeed your number one, you should have that separate.
Well, you know, I don't see controlling invasive species as a capital improvement item. I see that as a maintenance item.
Yeah, reading the definition of capital improvement, some accounting office, some counties backroom could say, oh, that is capital improvement, and others could justify that it's not.
Well,
that it's
I'm
maintenance.
looking at $200,000. I'm thinking that if we need money to do invasive species, we bump our maintenance number in June from 30,000 to say 50,000.
I would say the same thing.
And
Yeah.
that's where that money's gonna come from.
Yeah.
But, I'm looking at the pavilion, John's got this beautiful thing here. And I believe it's the whole plan. You know, and John's with us right now, and John can do a complete plan for a pavilion, you know, and that's not gonna cost us a dime. And I'm looking at the 200,000, you know, this year, I think what we have on there is, the restroom upgrade. Right?
Porta potty.
Yeah. Um, and do we have a bird viewing this year too?
I'm not big on bird viewing or fishing platform.
We already did fishing platform.
We already did that ring around it, which was part of,
That is the fishing platform. We did it, it's done.
Yeah,
I'm not into a bird viewing platform because the whole place is a bird viewing.
I don't, well,
But I agree with the restrooms and pavilions, and that invasive species should be under maintenance.
I think, and then we have new trails too, you know, if you look at the proposed action, we do have a walking pathway circuit.
well, let's talk about it at that level. I'm now very much with John on, let's not build, whether they're wood or other kinds of platforms, certainly not in the short term, make that a huge goal, because I think a walking circuit that goes around the ponds, that's, you know, work towards universal accessibility for that walk. I think that's a huge addition to the park, just improving the walkway so that it's that crushed stone universally accessible. That's my own personal opinion, but that's where I think we're at on some of this. You know, I got an idea of how a nice elevated boardwalk back to a platform off the, what was that, the seventh tee, I guess it was, but back by the long ponds, it's a raised area, it's got stone in front of it, just to the right of to the west of the driveway. But there's more maintenance when you do that. Once you do that, there's more maintenance. And it's a nice flat surface to stand a scope or do the bird watching right from that surface. So I've come around to John's point of view.
No need.
No need. You know, from the master planning we've done with Gosling Subeck, and just thinking what we have done, we've yeah, fishing platform, we've done it. It's not a platform, it's this better walkway.
It's much better than any of the fishing platform thoughts we had before.
Yeah,
What was done was a total home run.
so we just want to keep that access high quality. Still, if we can improve the porta potties that they're used. And I do think that the disabled community would be well served having a park like this with, I keep staring at your map, with that loop trail that includes the front ponds and cuts through some of the prairie.
Yeah, we need to get the ball rolling on yeah, we've got, that porta potty is in. We have money, they put money in there. Part of that capital outlay, that 55,000 is, you know, I listed them.
So
They're
an actual, they're in the CIP?
They're in our budget for this year.
Oh, okay, and that's a universally accessible porta potty?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how
Or is
it
it,
was worded. Yeah. I'll find it, but yeah, it's, Darn. Okay. Okay, here it is. Veronica Valley Park. Portable toilets with enclosure includes ADA access. There's 15 grand for that.
And we were looking for a nice concrete pad or something where people could go in with nice ADA toilets on it.
And this is,
Put it off to one side. And
this enclosure is, the ADA people said, can you provide some sort of visual barrier,
Right.
fence structure, something to make the
Aluminum
doors,
board,
so the
board
doors are a
inside.
little more private.
Yeah, we need a little design. John was involved with the one that we put together at Miles. A big amount of that money, it was like a $37,000 thing once we got it complete, but we had to do quite a bit of earth change. We had to build up the area where that concrete pad was going to go, but it was a concrete pad, and the car could park here, and the wheelchair could go from here around the backside where that UA1 was, and then there were 2 or 3 others. So 2 or 3 regulars and 1 UA. Maybe it's 2 regulars and 1 UA, but we need to probably have John involved. I'm just kind of thinking out loud.
Sure. Well, and I'm
Maybe have
thinking,
John involved and say, okay, what can we do for 15 grand?
well, one thing leads to another, because you want to link that also to your disabled parking space, which has to be a cement pad, and that needs to be linked to your 2 prime resources, the porta potties and the fishing. So there's some extra linkages of pathway
Right.
that have to
And-
be,
But we can start with the portable toilet.
oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we could make that number 1, and then you're right, we need to link the others.
We would want to, Scott needs to be involved in this because of plowing, so he can,
Yeah, we've got the, Gosling, we've got Gosling here, and if we look what Gosling did, we have a plan. But
we really,
Gosling had us with a parking lot, the full-blown parking lot.
yeah,
And
we're going to
we
cut
don't
that.
have that anymore.
No, we have,
So that is,
John has drawings. John Poper, do you remember this? The last point we got to looking at John
Walter.
Walter's drawings, he had an entry into the parking lot that then got wider on innerways. He cut out what exists close to the road, but he did it with beautiful curved, like, edges. And you pointed out how expensive that is, to do it in curves. And I think we may modify that to kind of a fat L, with the L being adding the extra space, some for buses, but to connect to some extra parking and to connect to the whole porta potty setup up in that corner.
I'm
That stuff-
okay with the parking lot the way it is, and I think Scott is too, because he pushes both ways, but we do need this bathroom.
Well, the only thing what John Walter worked on was Scott's saying it's just too big. It's more space that he chews up when he plows it all, then that we have to grade and worry about. It's more than the traffic that's usually there. And when there is a lot of traffic, we have other overflow capabilities. So it was Scott that said, let's make it smaller.
So I think you're right. I think John is a key element there, and bless you. And us as a committee, just to kind of hash out the way the parking lot is going to be, and then where is the porta potty setup, and what can we do for 15 grand? So we've got to
I'm gonna make
We've got to
that,
spin the ball quickly enough. We can place this thing, but you're right. Scott and John have to be involved, this John too, probably, just to,
well, what I'll do is I'll make this part of our March 1st meeting, which is the hour, 90 minutes before the full commission. And we'll make this a key part of what we discuss at that meeting is with his drawings. So we can all look at drawings and say, let's make it this way, this shape.
I want to point out that we also have in our budget $5,000 for wildlife viewing platform.
Yeah. Where did
So-
that come from?
I don't know. It came from Gosling Zubek's original thing.
No. This came from it was Casey and myself and Laura was there.
For executive?
It did the executive meeting after the last meeting, and we had to put together numbers it was in June, just before June, May. So we had to put numbers together for our budget.
But it originated from Gosling Zubek's original plans a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's been,
And it's just been kind of hanging
yeah,
around.
it's been floating around, and it was an idea.
Well, that's
I
what,
think it came all the way back, maybe too, but being that we just talked about it amongst ourselves and it's not the tippy top of the thing we're gonna do, and it requires maintenance once we build it, there's another 5,000. So my comment would be, okay, if we don't consider the viewing platform,
Put it up in
and the portable toilet enclosure goes to 20,000, we've got the money to do it.
Correct, I see what you mean. And that would be good, because once John and Scott or I, we sit together and say, let's build this here, put it in this corner. I'm not sure you need it paved, but you might have to. I'm not an authority on that. But we need to pick a spot, and I don't think we're gonna get it done for 15. We might, but
Well,
we
we've
gotta
got,
get concrete poured and some womanized stuff. You're right, we got the money, we just allocate it there if we have to.
well then, I'd like to wrap this meeting up and just make the assignment, the next one's March 1st again. And let's just keep doing this 10 minutes, 15 minutes with some of these meetings. None of this is deadline very soon. But let's get our ducks in order, and it really starts with making this priority list. What's a priority list, short-term and long-term, for the park? And we've got a lot down, but some of it just doesn't make sense, like that wildlife viewing platform. I mean, the more I've been associated with how the county works and with the park, the whole idea of letting nature come back and we're gonna have to manage it because of invasive species. But proper management can make it a really nice and beavers. Invasive species, I guess.
we've got $2,000 in for prairie restoration also.
Here's my attitude about the prairie. We got it planted really dense, and it'll compete against a lot of other things. It won't compete against the aspen copse coming out and spreading. Over on the other side, the beaver would take out the aspen, but the prairie's gonna do okay, what we have. Do we wanna look at expanding it a little bit? We've talked about bringing a nose of it down closer to the pond, closer to a walk around the pond. You'd have a nice view up a prairie stretch. Well, that's something else I think we can look at. I have not talked to Fish and Wildlife, say, in a year, so I should do that. I will.
And the $2,000, that would buy some seed, right?
Yeah.
And I know where we can get a no-till drill.
If we provide the drill and that takes a tractor to pull it, right?
I know where we can get a tractor.
Yeah.
We've got a new tractor right here.
If we can do all of that, yeah, 2,000 not only gets us the seed, but probably gets the guy who sets the drill. I got the photos of that. He gets on his hands and knees to make sure it's the right density. He planted it really dense, and I think that's okay. Okay, I'll wrap that up by saying I will get in touch with Fish and Wildlife and look at some addition, some phase 2 on Prairie. I would like to make a motion to adjourn for this session.
Public comment
Oh,
first.
public comment. Thank you.
Board member comment? Final?
John,
Is the meeting adjourned and this is just now comments or what?
No, you're.
we haven't adjourned
Comment on the
yet.
record.
She's straightening out my,
I
so,
have something to say, yeah. We talked about at our last meeting, Heather's coming here in March or April? Can't remember.
She historically comes in April, but that's up to you.
And if she comes, it was brought up that we want to talk to her about that spraying. Because she's going to come and talk about fish, but if you're going to involve any spraying and have to get a permit, we want to make sure she knows about that ahead of time. So that, oh gosh, I wish you'd have told me a month ago about that, because there's this and that and this and that. So I remember briefly that subject came up at Parks and Rec. We got to keep Heather on top of this, and someone said, oh yeah, she's coming. Let's tell her that.
well, how do we know for sure she's coming?
She comes every year.
Yeah, but I mean, having been contacted this year for, the date is April 5th is the first Wednesday?
Oh, I'd have to
Yeah.
look at the calendar.
I should just look up,
Oh.
you've given it to us twice. Yeah, April 5th.
Okay.
All we got to do is say, I don't know, we invite her, or she comes by herself, just let her know that we're working on another spraying program. And say, oh yeah, I know what you're doing. Because she's the one that approves this kind of a spray.
Who traditionally contacts Heather? Well, I know Pete used to. But I mean,
Oh,
is it the Leelanau Lake Association? I mean, there's,
It's always a
who
mess.
traditionally contacts Heather and says, okay, can you come and give us an update? And it's the meeting before or the meeting of us voting on the fish planting for the year.
If you wanted to invite her to the march and just ask her if that's possible, she could always Zoom in if she has a conflict where she lives. And in fact, I think she did Zoom before,
last year. Yeah.
Well, she interfaces with Lagus.
Yeah,
So we actually get our number through Heather.
yeah, so I don't know that March 1st is, it's only.
Well, the question for her is,
Well, okay, so, I just put down on my to-do list that I'll at least reach out to Heather right now, let her know a date when we expect to see her, April 5th.
well, yeah, I was, just a second, let me see.
And if someone has any trouble locating their contact information, I believe I have her saved to my Outlook contacts, so I could forward that information to you.
I'm sorry.
I have her contact information in my Outlook contacts list, so if anyone has trouble locating her contact information, I can send that to you.
I have it in my book.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got it.
So,
What else were you gonna add there, Steve?
I got the bill, I got
Course,
the info in my hand.
Well-
Proposed 2022 fish stocking for Veronica Valley County Park, Leelanau County Parks and Rec Commission. And then it's 2,000 hybrid bluegill, shared shipping with Leelanau Lake Association.
Sure.
And then it says what we did in 2021, and then it's an upcharge of $73.50 for 2022, and runs through the numbers. There's the total 2021 fish stocking cost and the total 22 fish stocking cost. And that piece of paper, I think, is put together by Heather.
By Heather.
And then the next page, I actually have the bill for Lagos Fish Farm, and last year I submitted the bill, and we got a check, and I gave it to you
And I gave it to Alan
when he dumped them, or Alan, and Alan gave it to Lagos.
when they were
They
dumped.
actually dumped the fish.
Yeah. Because I was gone when that was done. Well, so this was actually board comment rather than more discussion.
This was a commissioner comment, but I was gonna bring it up when we were talking about Veronica Valley and
Well,
stuff, but, I mean, or
That's
the
good.
pond.
It's good because it kept bugging me that I'd thought earlier about one more person I want in this walk around. Well, it's Heather. I will reach out to her on both topics and give her the date of April. And so that ball will get rolling.
I'm not gonna bring up another comment.
Steve,
No,
comment
that was
only,
good. I
not
think,
discussion.
We got
Okay,
Kids Fish Day in our scope.
good.
So I think that was good that we're
So,
kind of looking at all this stuff in February.
well, that's why I went ahead with the meeting. Let's get it going. It's easier to get it done early.
If you can get her at the March meeting, it'd be good.
Well,
It's a little-
I think she has it in her mind what she's going to do, and we got to have the info so we can vote.
Yeah, and pass it up the stair steps and get it done.
And
But
she's-
April's
she
still
comes to the
early for
Parks and
that.
Rec Commission, not our committee.
Right?
Yeah,
She
yeah, exactly.
typically
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
to the
yeah.
Parks and Rec. We've done it every year.
Yeah, that's April
So
5th.
So we do not have to, in my mind, run it through this committee.
No,
She just comes to Parks and Rec Commission, and she's on the agenda, or we add her on the
Yeah.
agenda, and we've got the number, and we vote for the number.
And she has to do the research on the numbers.
yeah, March I think's a little unreasonable to,
Too soon?
yeah, well, it's just 3 weeks and that's dropping something on her.
Yeah, you're probably
awfully-
right. She'll be
awfully
ready
fast.
in April, so when you talk to her,
Yep,
be ready
I'll
for
let her
that
know.
April
I'll let-
meeting with the numbers and everything.
I will contact her immediately, reach out to her and give her the date of April 5th.
The thing is, this will ultimately go to the Board of Commissioners for approval. So the way we've structured our meetings, even if you do it in April, it'll go on the board's April agenda. So
Correct.
you're looking good with timing.
Yeah,
And I
that's what we,
think it's good to let her know that this is, the setup for our meetings now is really early in the month.
That's, yeah,
So-
that's what I'm gonna let her know.
So,
That's
yeah,
exactly right.
that's- That's good.
By consensus, I'd like to terminate the meeting. Any objection?
Aye.
I objecting or I approve?
We're done, Laurel.
I was listening to some of these county commissioner meetings, how they got various